Definitely not going to grind StarCraft. StarCraft is a game you could grind 100 hours. No, I'm sorry. Like, I can't even think of a number that makes sense. 10,000 hours, and you would be trash. You could grind. I mean, listen to this. Artoz has been playing StarCraft seriously for 22 years. And this is not a knock. Compared to Koreans, he is trash. Artoz has played for 2 decades. And compared to even like a C-tier Korean, he is not even on their radar. That's how deep StarCraft is. There is no game that hard. There are people in Korea who lived in team houses and played StarCraft every day of their lives for their entire youth, only to be called a B-teamer and get cut. The levels in StarCraft are unlike any other game. I think even chess, and I know chess is close, I know CSGO is close, but I actually think StarCraft is the hardest, deepest levels. I believe that. I've gamed my whole life. I've played all the games. It has the mental part of chess, and you have to be fast. And not just fast, but really, really, really like 500 actions a minute fast. Harder to master than chess. Yes. Yes, I think that. I think the people that got the best at StarCraft, like Flash or J-Dog, put in more hours into their game than the top chess masters did. And I think chess is fucking crazy hard. I think chess is insane. I don't know, man. I think the intricacies of Uno are too much. Well, obviously Uno. Obviously Uno is the hardest, most skill-based game. But outside of that, I mean, we don't even. It's like rank 0. We don't talk about Uno. Atrioc, how is there such a big skill gap for a game like StarCraft? At this point and click, isn't it hard to get good at aiming? It's very hard to get good at aiming. These things are all hard. CSGO is an infinitely deep game. All these games are infinitely deep. So comparison is weird. The thing is, StarCraft is infinitely deep in so many different directions. Even the best of the best players do everything wrong. There is not a single thing, like in chess, very often players make perfect moves. They make mistakes. It's not 100% accuracy, but plenty of their moves are perfect. There is no perfect move in StarCraft. Everything they're doing is wrong. From the very first fraction of a second, they're already off what a perfect robot would do. There is no optimal play in StarCraft by a human ever. Not once. I wonder if I can show you guys the best StarCraft game of all time, because I used to watch it back when it was early days of esports. I think this is it. Okay, I was here in person. I went to Korea and was there this is the last game of the last season before they moved to StarCraft 2. This is the finale of Brood War, basically. The way a team match works in StarCraft is not like 3v3. It's like you send out a guy and we send out a guy. And if our guy wins, we get a point. And then we send out another guy. And then you send out another guy. And first team to 3 points wins, okay? The first 4 matches are pre-planned. So you know who you're going to face. The first 4 matches are pre-planned. But if it's tied 2-2, you have what's called an ace match. And that's where you can send out anyone. And so I was here and like, holy fuck, it went to ace match. And they sent out the 2 best players in the world. Bisu, the best Protoss of all time from SKT, and Flash, the best Terran of all time from KT. I still have my flag. Wait, I got it. Wait. I got this at this event. I was in the crowd waving this. I was like, let's fucking go. Because I hated Flash because he was too good. Oh. The game is fucking impossible to understand, and it's very blurry because it's an old video. So I'm going to try to explain it to you, but Flash, with everything on the line, Flash is the best Terran player in the history of the game. He's the best player to ever touch a keyboard. But like Artosis says that. Many StarCraft players consider him the greatest gamer of all time because he's literally just a machine. He's called the ultimate weapon. What his ability is, what was so impressive about him, a lot of things are impressive about him, is his ability to create the biggest armies. It's called macro, the ability to because half the game is micro, like moving your soldiers around and fighting and dodging and weaving, and half the game is building the army. He was so good at both, but he's amazing at building the army. But in this game, he put it all on the line and went for an aggressive, all in. Usually, he splits the whole map and just turtles up and gets a gigantic army and you can't beat him. But here he is going all out trying to get a kill. You can't just walk straight over. And Flash had studied this map so much that he had a brilliant strategy. Instead of taking this base and splitting the map and getting a big army, he was going to rush with everything he had early on, right, I think, basically here, okay? And set up tanks on this ridge and just stop him from mining. That's what his plan was. And Flash is the best player of all time, so everyone's like, holy fuck. He's got this brilliant all-in strategy. Bisu's fucked. Does the other guy know this is happening? No, the other guy does not know this is happening yet. The opponent doesn't know. Although Bisu's an amazing player, I'm sure he figured it out. He knew something was wrong. So yeah, he probably knows now. Now he knows, but it's too late. Now, Flash is attacking from this side. He's attacking from the right. He's coming from the back. The pressure's on. Bisu's crumbling. Then that happens. Now, to explain what happens there, this unit is called the Reaver. It's one of the most expensive units that the Protoss, Bisu, can make. He built it as like a desperate gambit. You build the Reaver, you drop it in their base, and you do a bunch of damage. He built it, he dropped it in the base, and it died right now. Look, it's gonna die. It dies. It kills nothing. It's dead. So anyone who knows StarCraft is like, it's fucking over. It's fucking over. He spent all his money on a Reaver. It's dead. Flash has the back of his base with tanks. It's over. But then this becomes what I think is considered the greatest game of StarCraft ever played. That's Bisu, by the way. That's the guy who's losing. This is the guy who's losing. The tanks are blowing the fuck out of his base. I mean, it's only like a few minutes into the game. He's not even mining from his main base, and we're only like 10 minutes in. He has no income versus the best player in the world. And he lost his Reaver. And then this happens. He does this insane flank. He attacks from the top, the bottom, and he drops on it at the same time. And he clears it. Against all odds, it costs him almost everything. But he clears it. A super entrenched force of tanks and turrets and Marines in a tightly cramped space, and he somehow finds a way to clear it with his back against the wall. And that means he can mine again. Now, the game is not even close to over, but that means he can mine again. He can start getting money so that he has a chance. Flash, gamer mode engaged. His first tactic failed, and now he's fucking in kill mode. Now he turns it on. Now he's like, you think you can beat me? He sends another wave of tanks. Somehow Flash always has army. So he comes back with another army instantly, and he's like, I'm going to take back that spot. You can't keep me out. He sets up again. Bisu can't mine again. Now Bisu says, okay, I killed your first wave, and somehow you had a second wave. If you have a second wave, that must mean you don't have shit at home. You cannot have shit at home. There is, even if you're the greatest macro on planet Earth, you can't have an army that died, a second army in my base, and shit at home. So he abandons his own base. Flash desperately trying to defend. He's like, fuck. And Bisu just runs in. He just charges in. And now you hear the crowd. The crowd, for the first time, is like, wait, what? Flash could lose? You start to hear it in the crowd. Because the default is that Flash wins. Flash never loses. The default is that Flash wins. So you start to hear it like, wait, what? Bisu's in his base. This is that second army Flash sent. It is full retreating. The second army that was behind the ridges is now on full retreat to get back to the base to save himself. He's like, fuck, fuck, we have to get back. Everything is in full retreat to get back home. But then Bisu catches the retreating army with an ambush in the middle of the map. While it's running back home, Bisu had a second force ready and ambushes it in the middle of the map and catches it. And now the crowds know that it's Bisu's game to win. And you hear the crowd. The crowd's losing their mind. And it's over! And I lost my shit. And Flash, who never loses, puts his head on his keyboard and cries. And he stayed there forever. Like, he didn't leave. He just sat in the booth with his hand in his hands on the keyboard. It was crazy. You never see Flash lose like that. It was everything on the line. This is the last big match of StarCraft ever, and he lost it. This is the most dominant player in history with the last chance to cement his legacy, and he lost it. It was Oh my God, I got chills, dude. It was really so fun to watch. Anyway, I wanted to share that. I wanted to share that video. So that's why I think Brood War is so cool. I know it seems like if you don't know what's going on, it's just pixels, bro. I mean, it's the game is so old, but it is the most beautiful. I mean, it's a crazy game. When I was 19, actually I was 18 years old. When I was 18 years old, I convinced my parents to let me fly to Sweden to go to DreamHack in Jönköping, Sweden, where I was going to write about StarCraft.
Hi, this is Atrioc from TeamLiquid.net. I'm here at DreamHack in Sweden. I'm here with...
This is the first on-camera thing I ever did in my life, and I was so nervous. You can just hear it. I was so nervous. And Team Liquid said they would pay for my accommodations and my food for this event. When they said accommodations, they meant a hostel with the tiniest bunk bed I've ever seen and 5 guys. 5 men on 1 bunk bed in a hostel. The food was the free food, the snacks in the press room at DreamHack. It was like Coca-Cola bottles and like chips. That was the food. I had no money. So that's what I had for a weekend. Now, DreamHack, if you don't know, is the world's largest LAN event. It's the world's largest LAN event. It's got tens of thousands of Swedish gamers that show up, bring their computers, and just play games for an entire 72 hours straight. They just sleep on the floor. Like, they just play nonstop, pass out on the floor, wake up and play. And so I was there just absorbing it all, loving it, and trying to cover StarCraft because I loved it.
Big cheer.
I'm so fucking nervous. I can't even watch it. I'm cringing. I have no ability to move the conversation along. This guy, Liquid Huck, becomes the first, and I don't know how to, I don't know. I mean, he's the first white guy to ever win a StarCraft event. A first Western. All right, you know what the real question is? The first non-Korean. Foreigner. Actually, I was looking for foreigner. Foreigner is the word I was looking for because they call them foreigners. It's funny that in the StarCraft scene, Americans would call other Americans foreigners because if you're not Korean, you're a foreigner in StarCraft. That's how we did it. And that was fucking crazy because I was on Team Liquid and he was on Team Liquid. So it was like the biggest party. I remember him showing up to a club with glasses on at night, like it's the fucking Matrix, double fisting drinks and just like kicking open the door and screaming. I got really drunk, so I don't remember too much about the night, and I was 18 and I don't know what I was doing. But I do remember one thing, and this is the reason I brought this story up, is at the end of the night, for whatever reason, I ended up in a hotel room with like 6 other like press and this guy. Moon. This guy got second place. This guy lost to Huck. And he was just sitting there on the edge of the bed, sad. Just drinking sadly because he was the first person, this is Moon. He was the first person that ever lost to a foreigner in a finals. And I remember I sat next to him on the bed and I punched him on the shoulder. And I said like, I honestly, I'd be lying if I told you what I said. I don't remember what I said. I was drunk, but I just said like, I'm a big fan, bro. You're fucking great. You're fucking great. And you know what? There's a lot of fans of yours all over the world. You know, I was just drunk. And I remember he looked at me and gave me a smile, like a big smile. Like the first smile he had all night. And then he had fun. He had fun for the rest of the night. I distinctly remember I saved Moon's evening. That was like the most interaction I've ever had with a top Korean player. And I think because I was wearing all the Team Liquid merch and I said that, it was like an extra special olive branch because I wasn't rubbing it in because our guy had won. Did I save his life? Who's to say? Who's to say? Am I single-handedly responsible for making Korea the best esports nation because I saved the top players? You decide. Okay, I can't say that. I also remember the one thing that got, again, I was super nervous here again as well, but this guy was the Korean translator. but he didn't speak that great English. He was their translator, but he wasn't a very good translator. And so nobody from all the bigger press outlets, like all the people that were much bigger than Team Liquid at the time, were getting interviews with the Korean players because they couldn't figure out how to like get them to do it. And I knew a little bit of Korean. So I went up to this guy, July Zerg, one of the best Zerg players, and I said like, Intabu, Halsu Isayu, or I don't remember what I said. I literally don't remember what I said. I forgot how to say it. But I asked him for an interview in broken Korean, and he looks at me, he's like, all right, like nods. And then he goes and gets the translator. And then I got like the only Korean interviews. At one point,
I realized that he was too, but
yeah, my arm gets tired. Because I don't know how to hold a mic properly. And so my arm gets tired, and he reaches out and helps me hold it. King.
Sase. he doesn't.
That's king shit. That's king shit. That's the nicest thing anyone's ever done for me on this trip. I've been sleeping on the floor, eating Cheetos. Finally, someone helps me hold the mic. Definitely feels awkward though, right? Because he's got his hand on it and I've got my hand on it, and we're both like just. I remember one more thing from this. You may not know this, but that DreamHack happened to be the debut of a brand new esport. The very first world championship for this little upstart indie game called League of Legends.
We're flying out the 8 best teams from around the world and letting them battle it out over a $100,000 cash prize and the title of League of Legends World Champions. The Season 1 circuit is comprised.
So they're making it seem like a big deal. This was like a tiny corner of the back of the event hall. It was like massive StarCraft stage, massive Counter-Strike stage, and a tiny little corner. A tiny little League of Legends corner. But the crazy thing is, the people watching League were getting hyped. They were getting torqued. They were talking about it. The word was spreading. And I remember I was like, fuck League. Fuck League, that's a kiddie game. Look at that kiddie-ass casual game, bro. StarCraft will never die. StarCraft will, it's like, I'm walking around the StarCraft side like, fuck that little baby-ass game in the corner. But people kept talking about it, and like, the crowd kept getting loud. I'm like, all right, let me go check it out. So I walk over there, like, arms crossed, like, what is this baby shit, dude? And I'm like watching a little bit. I'm like, all right, that was kind of cool, actually. Oh, that was kind of cool. And I'm still watching. And then all of a sudden, I'm like skipping watching StarCraft games. And I'm like, I keep every day coming back to the League side and watching more. And then by the end of it, I'm like fully invested, like fucking trying to play League. Like, they converted me in that event. And then ever since then, I played more League than I did StarCraft. Ever since that event. And now, years later, I can feed in League of Legends with Mizkiv. And have a few thousand people watch me and laugh at me. That's what it was all for. All of that work in esports is also that me and Mizkiv can play bronze games and feed while getting carried by challengers in order to get primes. The long con. The long con.
Check it.